Good afternoon, runners, and welcome to the 2021 TCS New York City Marathon Recovery Chat. And I'm Coach Steve. Today, I'm joined by our HSS expert, Polly. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here.
It's been a fun chat. Tell us a little about how you're working with runners in recovery as they, finished marathons up, in the past years of New York City Marathon.
Well, HSS has sponsored the Marathon Monday recovery tent, as well as recovery tents at the finish line as well. So we've seen quite a few runners over the years who are finishing up the marathon and could use a little chance to recover.
Love it, guys. So this is a recovery chat. If you have any questions regarding race recovery, what to do after your race, we're going to get to those, but always put your questions in the chat for Polly. If you're looking for course strategy, we will be back about 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight to go over the course one last time, mile by mile. So join us then. Today is strictly about recovery, which is very important. And I want to jump to you, Polly, for the first question. As runners finish the race, what is the most they can do and the important thing they can do the minute they cross that finish line tomorrow afternoon?
So when they first cross the finish line, it's helpful to keep moving. And the good thing about New York is you don't have a choice.
That's
you
right.
have to kind of you have to keep moving. And two reasons for that. One is that when you finish, all the blood vessels to your muscles are kind of dilated, and if you just stop, you might get a little lightheaded. You need the muscle pump to keep the blood going back to your heart. The other thing is that surprisingly, even in relatively warm weather, your body temperature drops pretty quickly when you finish and you're not generating body heat anymore. And even though the weather tomorrow isn't going to be freezing, it's cool. So you want to keep moving, sort of to keep generating a little body heat, and there'll probably be something to keep you warm. As soon as possible, if you can get out of wet clothes and into dry clothes, that's to your advantage. And also just grabbing something to eat as soon as possible is helpful. But those are like as soon as you cross that finish line, those are kind of the main things, is to maintain your body heat and keep moving.
I love it. Talk about a little bit how runners from a physical standpoint, what they can do to, we talked about walking. Is there foam rolling, that is important for them after the race? Yeah,
within a few minutes, like once people get back to their homes or their hotel rooms or whatever, the sooner you can kind of start taking some strategies to help yourself recover, the better. So some people use ice baths. They'll get into, put a little ice or even just your ice packs or something. Compression garments, putting on compression tights or whatever, have been shown to be just helpful in people feeling sort of less fatigue and less muscle soreness when they do it quickly after they've finished. Same thing with foam rolling. The studies show that, like, if you do that pretty quickly after you've finished, there is an advantage as far as muscle soreness later on and muscle repair. So all those things can be helpful. If the sooner you get to them, the better. And then again, kind of just keeping moving even in the evening, just getting up and moving around is important, not just at the finish line, but in those hours and days after the race.
I love that. Definitely good advice, guys. As I said, put those questions in the chat. We're going to get to them one by one. So we talked about the physical side of it, and you briefly mentioned it before, the nutritional side. What can runners do the minute they cross the finish line to aid in that recovery process?
So if you think about, you've run a marathon, so your carbohydrate stores are all used up, but you've not just lost carbohydrates. You've lost minerals and vitamins, and in your sweat, there's you've lost salt and magnesium and so forth. So the main thing is to think about eating sort of a nutrient-dense diet. You may feel like pizza and beer, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with pizza and beer. However, in general, you want to supplement that with other things that are a little more nutrient dense. So over the course of a few days, and studies show the muscle repair process can take as long as 20 days, something like that. So your body's kind of coming back from that over the course of the weeks following the marathon, and you want to supply the nutrients that are going to be used to build back strong. So just thinking about, in general, making sure that you're not only obviously replenishing your water stores by drinking a lot, but also really replenishing all of those vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, protein. Protein is necessary in order to rebuild muscle. So really just making sure that you're getting a really solid diet in the days and weeks after the race.
So at the finish line, we get a bag from you guys. It's got the water, the Gatorade, I think some pretzels, an apple in there. I'm assuming those are really important for runners kind of taking as soon as possible. You know,
Yes.
we've ran so long. When's the ideal time to start digesting some of that food? Probably important as well as the liquids. When should we start taking those?
The sooner the better, really. If you can start, taking things in. I mean, it depends. Some people may not feel like great when they finish because I've been.
I never had after a marathon.
Like some people's stomach, it takes a little bit for them to recover. But as soon as you feel capable of taking in food, certainly water, it's important to do so. So there was a great study a few years ago where they looked at people finishing a marathon and just looked at kind of blood work and so forth of people who would run sub 3 hours all the way up to 5 hours. And it didn't matter what your pace, it didn't matter your training, your age, everyone is pretty depleted at the finish line of a marathon. So the sooner you can get generally a carbohydrate protein mix in, because again, you want to have the carbohydrates that you're clearly, if you have been running for that long, you're going to be depleted. Even if you were taking in goos and gels along the course, you're probably burning, 600 calories or so per hour at least running, and your body can only absorb a certain amount when you're running because you have just a little less blood flow to your gut. It's going to your muscles and to your blood to dissipate heat and so forth. So, even if you're taking that stuff in, you're going to have a net deficit at the finish line, and the sooner you can sort of start to replenish that, the better. So a mix of carbohydrates and protein is kind of the best thing as soon as possible once you finish the race. And so a lot of people use chocolate milk as a sort of popular one. But anything that you can kind of get in that's going to feel good on your stomach and you can tolerate well would be to your advantage to get that in there and start getting your carbohydrate stores back and your muscle repair and so forth.
That's great. I love it. Guys, like I said, if you have any questions, please put those in the chat. Also, I want to know where you are watching from. So if you're watching at the expo, let us know you're watching from the expo. It'd be really cool to see that. If you're watching from Manhattan, let us know. Also, across the world, across the country, let us know where you're watching. And of course, any questions about nutrition or recovery, let us know. We can pass those on to Polly. Polly, I want to talk about those runners who are training maybe for another race coming up. Maybe they're doing the Philly Marathon, or just maybe they're thinking about back-to-back race in the future. Is there a way we can speed up our recovery to prepare for another upcoming race, or even just a big training cycle maybe? What's the best way to prepare for that after Sunday?
I mean, obviously probably the best person to be asking about this now is Shalane Flanagan.
We were talking about her earlier, how she does that.
So she's probably got I'd like to know her magic secrets. But if you from a purely physiological point of view, recovery is necessary. You've done, you're going to have some muscle damage, some depletion and so forth after running for that long. So it takes time, and generally, regardless of the modalities you use to try to help yourself recover faster, if you look at blood markers of muscle damage, typically around 72 hours, they're starting to come back down. So in those first few days, and then I think people who have experienced this, you feel super sore like 2 days later, and then you start to feel a little better. So that's kind of the timeline, and how much can we accelerate that is really, not a huge amount by using any of the, sort of products that are out there to accelerate. I think the things that accelerate it are, again, eating really well. Make sure you're providing your body with the things it needs to recover. So the nutrients to get your muscles rebuilt, and the rest, relative rest. Obviously, you don't have to lie in bed, but you've if you got some muscle damage, you don't want to go out and do some super hard workout pretty quickly because you're just going to compound the problem. So, taking it easy for a few days and letting yourself recover, and then as you return to training, to do that on a gradual basis. There are certain things like compression garments, as I mentioned before. If you look at blood markers for muscle damage, it's not huge that it shows a big effect, but it shows people do feel less soreness. Same thing with ice baths that are commonly used. Some of the things that people sort of gravitate to already, massage guns and foam rolling, and all of those things seem to have it speeds it up a little bit, and every little bit helps. So definitely, take advantage of all those things that are out there that can help you feel a little better and feel less fatigued. There's also, some studies looking at one marker kind of muscle power is, how high can you jump? So there have been some studies of vertical jump height and how long did it take people after a marathon to return to their ability to create that.
After a marathon.
Nobody does.
That was a horrible study.
It's a horrible study, but so
interesting. But I don't want to be participating in that study.
So the average is 18 days, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
To get back to where they
yeah. So you may not feel sore, but as far as your muscle performance, it's a while. And some of the things that I mentioned before show a little bit better if you're using some of those things. So eating well, resting. Yeah. The other thing I would say is getting sleep. I think getting adequate sleep is really when all this restorative stuff happens. When you're sleeping, all the hormones that help you, muscles rebuild. I think, it's the most powerful recovery tool we have is a good night's sleep. So making sure that you're doing that is going to help also.
You heard it here. Polly said sleep in Monday after the marathon. Tell your boss, tell your spouse that they're in charge of the kids Monday morning and you're not coming in for work until 11 o'clock on Monday. So
Absolutely.
You can sleep in. You heard it from Polly.
Nap.
She'll give you the doctor's note to nap at 3 o'clock in the afternoon as well.
Yes.
For those running.
The afternoon nap.
Polly, we have some great shout outs from runners. Let's jump to those. We have Olga writing in from the Bronx. Olga, thank you so much for joining us today. We also have Kristen watching from NY. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kristen. And then we have some questions as well. So Kristen, also from NY, asks, what are the ideal recovery methods for Monday post-marathon? I know we went over a little bit, but maybe break it down in steps for runners out there.
So first of all, get a good night's sleep Sunday and nap on Monday. And then when you get up Monday morning, if you can take a walk, pedal a bike for a few minutes, just something to get circulation to your muscles without really, putting a lot of load into them or stress on them. Make sure that you eat great meals and snack throughout the day on really, again, protein, carbohydrate, things with fruits and vegetables. You want to get those minerals, vitamins back into your system, and drink a little extra. You may be hungrier than usual, which is fine. If you put on a couple of pounds, you're not going to freak out. It's probably just water weight. So really kind of just being mindful of your diet. I would also advocate that you get on a foam roller on Monday. If you have access to, boots, those massage boots, definitely do that. The other thing is, on Monday to, notice if there's anything. If you come to the marathon Monday, we have some of our sports fellows from Hospital for Special Surgery there. So if you have something that's concerning you, like you feel like it's not normal soreness, you're feeling like maybe you've got some kind of injury, there'll be somebody there to talk to you about that so that you know kind of what to do right away for that. So those are kind of the things on Monday that I would say is just, active rest, sleeping and eating really well, and taking advantage of whatever modalities you have available to help yourself feel a little better.
For those who may be out of town and they're here in town maybe Monday, Tuesday, is walking around good? And, sitting down to go on Broadway might be great Monday or something like that, but walking around the city is okay to do Monday. It's not too much stress on the body?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, because it's really the pretty low impact motion is going to be helpful. You just want to get some blood circulating to your muscles. Again, you don't have to do really vigorous stretching, but something as simple as just some foam rolling, walking around. You should feel a little better, a little gentle stretching, but generally you'll feel a little better if you're moving around versus if you're just sitting still.
Any advice for stairs? I always find stairs after the marathon are tricky.
Yeah, well.
You see the backwards walk or the marathon shuffle down the stairs. So someone ran a marathon because of the marathon.
Yeah, exactly. Shuffle. Yeah, it's a lot easier to go up than down. Yeah, I mean, because I used to run the Empire State Building run.
Oh, yeah.
So even training for that, you didn't go down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you just you either go down backwards or you hold on to the banister and swing yourself down, or take an elevator.
Yeah,
those are kind of the down
Fortunately,
techniques.
a lot of the subways might not have the elevator near you. But we do have one more comment from runners. I want to toss this one through. Danny says, I heard you can burn 3,300 calories for the marathon. Is there a legitimacy to that? Is that average maybe?
Yeah. I mean, actually, if you think, I do metabolic testing at Hospital for Special Surgery, so we measure exactly how many calories people burn when they're running at different paces and where they're pulling their calories from, whether it's from fat or carbohydrates. But yeah, some people are burning, you know, I would say about 100 calories or so per mile is not unusual. It depends, of course, on pace and your size and your running economy. I mean, if you look at the lead pack, these people are, if their heads are really like this, not like that. If you look at them, their arms are nice and close, everything's very smooth. And you'll see other forms out on the roads tomorrow. So some people are just mechanically a little inefficient, which means they're going to be burning more calories at a given pace. But yeah, on average, it's going to be about 3,000 calories to finish a marathon, roughly, you know, about 10,000 to do an Ironman. So, so that's where that's why you'll see all that stuff out on the course, because most people only store about 1,200 to 1,500 calories of carbohydrate in their liver and their muscles. So you don't have enough carbohydrate to finish this race unless you're taking in supplemental carbohydrates. So that's why, you know, eating is important today. And, you know, one thing to think about with recovery is it started during your taper. So, you know, recovery really starts already. And you can have a better recovery by what you do tonight and tomorrow morning. So thinking about making sure you're well hydrated, you're well fueled. You know, going into the race sort of, you know, with your tank full is going to make a big difference in how you feel at the finish line.
Recovery started already. I like that, before the race even began.
Yeah, it
So look at that.
started, Danny, in your taper.
Danny, thanks for bringing that up. That was kind of just a cool stat. I thought it kind of brought it around there. I want to bring it to injury prevention a little bit here. And guys, once again, if you have any questions for Polly or for myself, please put those in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. What are 2 to 3 main exercises in training that we can do to prevent injuries?
Well, if you think about, you know, running, it's a single leg activity. So you're basically jumping from one leg to the other. So adequate strength and stability landing on one leg is important. And also core stability. So side planks, if you can do a side plank and lift the top leg up, that's one of the criteria we use to see somebody's probably pretty stable running, because you have lateral stability. A lot of times, because running is just a linear sport, the muscles on the sides of the hips in particular, are a little bit weak, and that leads to, when you land, your knee collapsing in a little bit, or you're pronating in your foot or whatever. So strengthening up the core and the sides of the hips is important. Your glutes are super important as far as preventing injury. So anything you can do, sort of single leg deadlifts are a very, very helpful exercise for runners. Single leg squats, where you're just developing that strength and stability. And like I said, a side plank, getting to the point where you can be in a side plank with the top leg lifted up, is going to be a good measure of really lateral stability, which is important for runners.
So all those workouts you mentioned, you can kind of build up, like, you know, the side leg plank with the leg risen up. It's a challenging workout. I used to do that. I could do that when I was running a lot and doing, you know, twice a week kind of strength work, and I haven't done strength work in a while. So maybe doing that would be hard now. Getting back, you can work your way up to that kind of workout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe just a plank first, and then learn a side plank for a
and
few
you
seconds.
can do right. You could do a side plank on your knee, starting with that and doing like a clamshell with the top leg.
Okay.
So you can start that way. So you're on your side, on the knees. The top leg does a clamshell. Then you can work it up to on the knee with the top leg extended out, and then both legs extended, and then work your way up to taking that top leg out. So you just progress. I mean, the good news about most of the exercises that are really helpful for runners is that they don't require a lot of equipment. And runners like to run, and they don't necessarily want to go to the gym and spend hours doing strength work. So really a very effective you know, series of exercises for runners. Doesn't require a ton of time or equipment, which is a huge benefit. We do have at HSS a run fit, you know, 4 classes over the course of a month, which is really just to go over kind of basic stuff that will help you stay injury free and hopefully make you a better runner.
So a gait analysis, right? Which I always love, which is important for runners, whether you're new or, you know, you've been running, you know, marathons. It's great to get that gait analysis, see where your issues are, maybe what's causing injuries to happen over and over and over again. You guys can do that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a running mechanics analysis, metabolic testing, all that sort of stuff. But the running mechanics analysis is exactly what you said. You want to look at somebody, where are they tight, where are they weak, and where are they asymmetrical. And that will manifest itself in your running gait often. So in order to run well, you have to have the mobility of the joints, and a lot of us sit a lot of the day, and certainly now with that we're all on Zoom all the time, you're sitting all the time, the hip flexors get pretty tight, the quads can get pretty tight, and what that translates to in your running is that it's hard to push off because you just don't have the ability to extend your hip anymore. So you lose your glutes have a harder time firing. So something is, just making sure you're opening up your hips, foam rolling your quads, that sort of stuff can be helpful. But in a running mechanics analysis, you look specifically at what are the limiters for this person physically in terms of flexibility, strength, how is that manifesting itself in the running gait, and what strategies can we come up with that will address those.
Talk to us one more time about Marathon Monday and Tuesday, what's going on with HSS and how runners can maybe be involved.
Okay, Marathon Monday, we will be at the finish line with foam rollers and physical therapists and exercise physiologists and sports fellows to answer questions and help you foam roll and stretch. When we would definitely encourage you to come by there. It will make you feel better for sure, and you'll be there hopefully anyway to get your medals engraved. And they have all kinds of wonderful things, the Roadrunners Glove, finisher gear, like who would not want that? Definitely the 50th running, you surely want something from that. It's a very exciting year for this. But we'll be there to in addition to, while you're maybe thinking about what you want to get for finisher gear, waiting for your medal to be engraved, you can do a little foam rolling and stretching. And then on Tuesday, we'll also be there to have some classes for stretching, yoga, foam rolling. We'll be there also. So definitely, if you're available, come by. We're doing everything we possibly can to make you feel better and start thinking about your next race.
I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for doing that. That's going to be awesome. So, guys, stop by there. We will also have another recovery chat Monday at 10 o'clock. So maybe you're feeling something new that day and you didn't have a question about it now, but you do then, you can join us then. And if you're looking for our next core strategy session, it'll start at 6 p.m. Eastern today. So come on by, chat with us then. It'll be a last core strategy before the big day. So your last questions, you can ask us, coaches. But otherwise, we will see you at the finish line. And thank you so much. And we look forward to the 2021 TCS New York City Marathon. See you out there.